Come on. Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. With all the craziness going on with IOTA the last few weeks, I don't have anything planned for this week. I mean, I do have stuff written, it's just all Star Trek stuff, and as much fun as it would be to spend the entire year on just Star Trek stuff, I'm sure a lot of you want variety. Plus, with all the stuff going on with IOTA, I need something easy this week. So I think this week, I'm going to fulfill a promise I made last year. Last November, I looked at Alternate Warriors, a book about historical figures known for being pacifists, scientists, or celebrities, and instead turns them into history's greatest warriors. Also, Rambo Gandhi is on the cover. Although there isn't a Rambo Gandhi story, so that was a bit of a letdown. Anyway, let's take another peek into the book and look at a few more of my favorite stories about historical figures kicking ass in alternate universes. The first one we're going to look at today is Sam Clemens and the Notable Mayor, featuring, of course, Samuel Clemens, who you may know better as Mark Twain, the man behind Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, all of which I've reviewed on the show before, so look those up if you're interested. This story, however, features a different take on Samuel Clemens. The story opens up with Samuel Clemens explaining about how he was living in Nevada with his brother Orion, the Secretary of the Territory, during the tail end of the Civil War, which is actually historically accurate. Clemens decides to try his hand at mining silver and gold, but it's not that much at first, so he supplements his income by writing essays and selling them to newspapers in the East under a pseudonym. He and a few friends buy stock in silver and realize that they have a $4 million profit. However, they can't sell them since they'd have to do that in New York, so they decide to send Clemens there to sell them. But they can't afford a stagecoach ride for him, so they might have to send them to a stockbroker and potentially lose profit. But it's not a loss yet, since one of his friends, Bill, buys a horse off a Native American for $5. Bill is a bit of a rube, however, the type of guy that con artists flock to, so Clemens isn't too sure about the horse. The Native American, Red Hawk, wants to get rid of it because it's bad luck, and Clemens demands their money back, but Hawk assures them that the horse is good, provided you don't mention the white man's god around it, since it has a Native American spirit. Clemens decides to say screw it and head out, and goes on his way to New York City. He does test out the horse, named Notable, by mentioning angels, and the horse starts to freak, so he heeds Hawk's warning. During his journey, he starts hearing about Quantrill's raiders, which included Frank and Jesse James in its ranks. As luck would have it, he's confronted by the raiders, and they start rifling through his stuff at gunpoint, and take his money and the stock certificates, before taking him back to their camp. They ask his name, and he gives his pseudonym, Mark Twain, so he won't be connected back to his brother and used as a ransom pawn. He meets the other hostages, including a correspondent for the London Times, and a woman named Miss Catherine. Twain concocts an escape plan using a razor blade that he had in his pocket, and they escape, but are caught by one of the guards. It's okay, though, because the guard happens to be a Union spy and helps them escape, although he has to stay behind and can't escort them to safety. The correspondent notices that the raiders are preparing to lynch a slave, and shouts, "By Jove!" followed by Catherine and Twain saying a few other religious interjections, which makes Notable go nuts and alerts the raiders to their escape. Twain climbs on the Notable and gets ready to leave, but the leader of the raiders, William Quantrill, comes out and starts shouting, referring to a lot of Christian religion icons, and so Notable goes bonkers and flattens the entire camp. The raiders flee and Quantrill's tent goes up in flames, meaning the stock certificates are gone. Notable bucks him off and runs for the horizon, and the Union spy comes over to ask what happened, and Twain decides things are better left unexplained, and he and the correspondent appropriate a new horse and ride off as Catherine regales the Union spy with her stories. The next story we're going to look at is The Cold Warrior. This one features Marilyn Monroe as a secret agent, using her connections with politicians and important people to change the world. Monroe gets a message from Sam Giancana, a mobster and boss of the Chicago outfit, who tells her that he's worried about their next mission that weekend. Worried that someone at Justice will catch wind of it. She tells him that they're not looking at him and are more focused on Hoffa, presumably Jimmy Hoffa, the Union leader who went missing in 1975 and was never found. Monroe tells Sam that everything is going to work out and hangs up, as the phone rings again, but as that phone is wired by every government and some non-government agencies, she ignores it. She struggles with memories about a trip to Mexico in 1955, where she hung out with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, with whom she was lovers with. Che Guevara, I mean, not Fidel Castro. After that trip, Castro went back to Cuba and took over the government, as you do, but turning to communism instead of the People's Republic he had told Monroe that he was going to do, and Guevara turned against her as well.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
She blames Castro for that and plans to destroy him as revenge. Monroe gets a call from a guy named Peter saying that a mutual friend wants to meet. She goes to meet with him, and that mutual friend turns out to be Robert Kennedy. They discuss the crisis of the Russians moving nuclear missiles into Cuba. She mentions about how they boxed the Bay of Pigs invasion, and she suggests that JFK should nuke Cuba. Kennedy is hesitant about it, but Monroe promises Sam Giancana, Jimmy Hoffa, Hoover, and 2 Supreme Court justices in exchange for destroying Castro for her. She goes home victorious, but her house has been broken into, and she's overpowered by an unknown assailant that she recognizes, who I assume is Che Guevara, and the next day she's found dead, which was ruled a suicide, and the Cuban Missile Crisis occurs without Castro being eliminated. The final story is Mind Over Matter, a story about Stephen Hawking, who is probably the most unlikely warrior in this book, aside from Mother Teresa. Yeah, we'll get to that one in another episode. In this story, the narrator, a writer, explains about his relationship with Hawking, how they met in 1989 when he was doing a freelance story on Hawking, their differences, and how despite them they became fast friends, having conversations going beyond the scope of the story he was sent there to write. They kept in touch over the years, and then, one night, he gets an odd email from Hawking that appears to be a suicide note. Hawking writes that they're finally going to do it. Those maniacs. Damn them! Damn them all to hell! He says that he finally knows how Oppenheimer and Einstein felt, becoming Death the Destroyer of Worlds. Well, at least he isn't Mike Nelson, destroyer of at least 3 worlds. The narrator doesn't understand the node, at least not until the next day, when Tripoli, Baghdad, Tehran, and Beijing just blink out of existence. Afterwards, the President and Prime Minister hold a press conference to announce the successful deployment of the Hawking device, named in honor of the man whose studies in the black holes and singularities made it possible. And the story ends with the President saying that it's not a weapon, but the ultimate device to ensure security and peace. Personally, I'd have called it the Tantalus Field, but what do I know? And those were more stories from Alternate Warriors. It's still an awesome book. I looked at the really good ones last time, but these are good too. The Mark Twain one is awesome because I can totally see the real Mark Twain doing that. The Marilyn Monroe one makes you think, because the ending implied that the reason she died in real life wasn't a drug overdose, but because she was a master manipulator trying to destroy Cuba. The Stephen Hawking one, I liked because it was shocking, and it didn't take the easy way out. The author could have easily had Hawking not have ALS in that universe, and have him do stuff like James Bond, but this one kept it close to reality. only making him a warrior in the sense that the Manhattan Project members were by helping create the weapon that would destroy the world. The story was thought-provoking, and while the other two were good as well, I think Mind Over Matter is my favorite. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more of the Literary Lair, you can hit that subscribe button. And if you have any comments or complaints about the video, you can put those in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, show it to your friends and share it around the internet. And maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time. And done. You fixed Iota? Yep. Whatever got him a few weeks ago corrupted his voice and speech modules along with the motherboard. So I had to go and rip that out and start completely from scratch. Luckily, I've been debating updating Iota's voice for years now. So I had a voice chip lying around that I had been fiddling with. So I just fixed everything, popped it in, and it should work. Right about now. Iota, what is your designation and function?
I am the Integrated Operational Telecommunications Apparatus. I am designed to aid you in reviewing and combat, among other things. I rather like this voice.
His voice sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, the chip needed a voice base, and I used mine. There's a little bit of compression to it, so it sounds sort of mechanical. I like it. It suits you, Iota. Anyway, how did you get damaged?
There was a being. He was not picked up by my sensors, and he was able to breach the outer shell of my unit.
Either this place is haunted, or the person who attacked Iota was a hologram. Makes sense. I only primed Iota sensors to pick up organic life forms. 'Cause organic life forms have been the only people who have attacked me. You, my mirror double. Hell, the only time when I wasn't attacked by an organic life form, it was that adaptive virus, and Iota's sensors wouldn't have picked that up anyway, because that was all up here. Iota, did your security cameras pick up anything?
It was disrupted due to an electromagnetic pulse coming from the being that attacked me.
They knew what they were doing. I just wish we had a photonics expert around here. I'm not very skilled in that field. I know what you mean. I only know the basic stuff. I mean, I can build one, but I'm not very good at it. Actually, that gives me an idea. Iota, patch my phone into these coordinates.
I am unable to establish a connection.
What? Why? I haven't gotten Iota's connection to the mainframe restored yet. Right. I'll handle it. Hello? Your presence is requested. It's sort of urgent. Thanks, I'll see you then. Who was that? Photonics expert. He'll be here shortly. Nice to see you again. You too, Mike Sano. I don't believe we've met. We have. As I recall, last time we met, you shot me. Shot you?
What?
Be matched.
Oh yeah. I always wondered what happened to you. Well, Hollow Me, actually, do you have a preferred name? Because, I mean, it's been 4 years since you were created, and it's gonna get really confusing if I keep calling you Hollow Me all the time. I do, actually. It turns out that Maverick's superiors needed someone to do recon missions, and since my light bee technically belongs to them, I took the job. My code name is Scarab, so we can use that if you'd like. Scarab it is. Now what do you need me for? Iota was attacked by a holographic being. We don't know anything other than that. We figured you might have some guidance. There was an incident where a prototype light bee was stolen from a vault around this time last year. They never found it, so that's a start. Why steal a prototype? I bet you had finished ones in that vault as well. We did, but this one was a special one. It was a light bee designed for combat, for use in heavy military operations. It not only allowed the hologram the ability to hack into whatever system it came across, it also gave it the ability to create hard light weapons, and hard light bullets hurt about the same as regular ones, so it's pretty dangerous. Sounds like my double's doing. He probably needed a quick way to get a new lackey since your mirror double left. That's true, but it takes a long time to program a holographic personality. Even copying my consciousness was a long process, and your double doesn't seem like the type of guy to create a hologram of himself. I agree, it's not like we had any hologram files saved on that computer he stole, and your mirror double didn't tell me about any hologram files during the incident last year, and he told me all about the multiverse bomb. Well, I can help for better security measures against holograms, but without any other info, I'm not much help. We'll take all the assistance we can get. Then let's get to work.